Hey guys, and welcome to Wagon Wheel Homestead. So, it's going to be a bit of a long video today, um, and by the title of this video, it's going to be a bit of a hard video, so if some of you are sensitive to some things, just be fair warned. So, let's hop into the video. Um, so, you know, this video pertains to trials and tribulations, and I am specifically talking about 2025. Um, so, for the garden, we got a tree removed for the most part. Had another tree trimmed. Had the most light I've ever had in my back garden. And with as rough and as lazy as I was with the garden, I had the most food I've ever gotten out of my garden in all of my years of gardening. It's lovely. So, but I don't even know where to start with this. So in March of 2025, I've done hair for 10 years, almost 11, and March of last year, I had to close my salon. I opened a salon. I had it for almost 3 years, and had to close. And for me, you know, middle to end of February, early March is seed starting time. You know, it's time to get the garden ready and get seeds started and get everything prepped for the growing season to come. And I didn't care. I didn't care. I couldn't tell you the last time that I posted a video on here. I barely tried with the garden last year. I just didn't care, you know. So we had less than a week to move out of the building. And, you know, I couldn't find another building to rent. Certainly wasn't going to be able to buy. And so I was like, okay, we have to close. And I was praying. I didn't know what to do. I was terrified, and you know, I had booth renters. I didn't have employees. I just had booth renters. And I wanted to make sure that we all had somewhere to go. And I felt like God told me, call an old coworker. So I did. I gave her a call, asked her if she was still at the salon that I thought that she was at. And she said she would talk to the owner. I explained everything to her. And she was willing to take all of us, and still let us booth rent, give us a place to work. And I couldn't be more grateful for that. That was a very tough week of trying to get the salon closed. I was pulling 16-hour days working, and then I was packing. And literally go home, go to sleep, it'd be 11, 12 o'clock at night, and then get up in the morning, work again, pack some more stuff, take some stuff home, bring some stuff over to the new place that we were all going to be working. And that was very hard to start spring when, you know, I'm supposed to be excited to start seeds and get ready for the season, and I just didn't care. I started some seeds, killed a lot, but started some. Bought some starts because I just didn't care. and got it done though. I had the most peppers I've ever had. I had so many peppers I didn't know what to do with the peppers. Uh, I had no idea. And I've never had that happen before, and it was certainly something that I was very excited about later when it came time to harvest. In May of 2025, I got my neck tattooed. I spent a lot of time with family last year because last year was just so hard, and I just really didn't want to deal with a lot. I didn't want to deal with added stress. I just wanted a break. So I traveled to Maryland 3 times, like I usually do, and spent time with my family, and spent time with my family here. And I really took time off from posting videos. I took time off from really doing things that I enjoyed, and I just let it go to the wayside. In August of last year, I had to put my dog down. I've shown him on here a few times. His name was Opie. I did have 2 dogs. Now I have 1. And Opie lived to be about, give or take, about 13. And, he was given some issues here and there for like a few weeks, and then he acted fine, so I'm like, okay. And, and then I was like, I need to get you to the vet. I was waiting to get paid, and the morning I was going to take him, he couldn't walk. He'd walk if you forced him, but you had to like lift his back legs up, and it was horrible. And we got to the vet, and she said he definitely has some internal bleeding. She felt a mass, and she was like, if I had to bet money, it's definitely cancerous. You got to put him down. That's going to be my recommendation. And I was uncontrollably sobbing, and I'm an animal lover, and I know, and one of my mom's favorite sayings is, ain't none of us getting out of this alive. Death is a part of life, whether it be with animals, with us, with anything. Plants, everything dies. Everything eventually, whether we want to accept that or not. And I have always had a very, very hard time accepting death, saying goodbye. I have never been okay with it. And, Opie was, well, he was a little turd. I loved him to death. And, like, you don't want to see them in pain. You want to be able to help them. And I felt so helpless in that situation because there was nothing that I could do. Nothing to extend his quality of life, to do anything to truly help him. And he was suffering. And it was like a switch that morning. Like, I noticed he was starting to get like a little wobbly. But, he was also a dingbat. I loved him to death, but that dog ran into everything all the time. Smacked his head off of everything. He wasn't blind, he just didn't pay attention. He had depth perception, but it just didn't seem to work when he got the zoomies, or was just excited because we brought him a new toy home from the store or something. And I miss him very much, and that was very hard. That was probably the hardest decision I've ever had to make. And it's like, you want to do right by your animals. You don't want to see them suffer, but also like, you don't want to say goodbye, even if you know that it's time. And I knew. And we went to the vet. She gave me the options. I didn't know what to do. So she said, "We'll come back later this afternoon and let me know what you decide." And so I brought him home. I was with him for maybe another 4 or 5 hours, and he wouldn't leave my side. I let Luna, our other dog, say goodbye, and she knew. She definitely knew. Her whole demeanor changed, but if you have multiple dogs or multiple cats or multiple animals, whatever, if that time is approaching, please let your animals, other ones, say goodbye. It's important. Um, Luna cried. I've never seen a dog cry before, but she cried. She had tears running down her face, the whole nine. She loved Opie. Opie dealt with her. Certainly was not his favorite out of the bunch. Uh, but he dealt with her. And she loved him to death. All she wanted to do was just play and be around Bunctious. And animals get older, they don't want to play as much. They don't want to be bothered. They're like grumpy little old people. Um, but I let her say goodbye, and just throughout the whole day, until we went back to the vet with a decision, um, I could just see the light just dimming, and he wouldn't leave my side. If I got up, he tried to get up, and I was like, and I was crying because I'm like, I see him struggling. I'm like, just stay right here. I'll be right back. And, I asked the vet, I was like, what did I do? And she was like, don't even blame yourself. You cannot blame yourself for this. And I screamed the next day. He was my little battle buddy in the morning before I go to work or anything else. And I didn't know what to do with myself. But we certainly had ugly crying and screaming and wailing. I was a mess. I'm not going to sit here and pretend. I was a mess from that. And for those of you who've lost an animal, had to put an animal down, you know exactly that feeling. If you haven't gone through that, I hope that you don't have to make that type of decision. August, I tried to post a video because I just wanted to do something, and I couldn't bring myself to do it. So a week after Opie died, I had the opportunity to become a color guard instructor for a college. And 2025 was my very first year of teaching color guard for marching band at a collegiate level. I've done color guard for 14 years. This is going to be my third year in total coaching. I've mostly just done it on my own. I did it in high school. And I've done little bits here and there. It's very hard to do when you have chronic illness and you walk with a cane. Kind of hard to do. But I manage, I enjoy it, and it gives me a sense of creativity that doing hair or anything else doesn't give me. And I love that. I was not excited at first to do this, because I jokingly said I would do it, and my friend volunteered me and called the band director and everything. I was very mad at him about it, but I was like, you know what? There's a reason why I gotta do this. I don't know why. And I've met some wonderful people along the way. And like I said, it gave me a sense of creativity that I haven't tapped into in a very long time. And it gave me a distraction. So a week later, I had band camp after Opie's death. And that was rough. But it was better than sitting at home and sulking and crying and screaming and everything else. So I did have that. I spent a lot of time with family last year. I went to Maryland 3 times to see my extended family. I saw my family here. And I really just kind of took a step back from everything. Uh, Last year was certainly a test of my faith. It was a test of questioning and trusting that God would get me through this. And God did. So in May, I got my neck tattooed. I At the base of my neck, in between the olive branch, I have John 14:27. It's where Jesus talks about peace. And it spoke to me last year. And last year was the most that I've ever prayed. Last year was the most that I've ever relied on God to get me through something instead of just trying to do it myself. And it was certainly a test. But in the end, God provided. God made sure I had somewhere to work. God made sure that I would be okay. And what I also want to touch on is, I have really let a lot of things go because of my health issues. And, it's very frustrating when you can't get answers and all of your tests come back normal, but clearly something is wrong. We just don't know what. It's a very frustrating process. I've walked with a cane for 3 years now. At times I need a wheelchair because my legs just stop working. I get very tremory, very shaky. I can't stand because I'm just going to fall. Now that's not very often, but when it does happen, it happens. It's very difficult. But I've always said through my health issues, God is going to get me through this, no matter what it is. Whether it's multiple sclerosis or if it's, lupus or whatever, whatever it is, God is going to get me through it. Now, I've been tested for everything under the sun, and everything always comes back negative. Except, I do have small fiber neuropathy. I do have 9 things wrong with my spine. I have a lot of MS symptoms, a lot of MS symptoms. We've ruled out Lyme disease. We've ruled out lupus numerous times. We've ruled out so many things. I've been tested for so many things, and it's been such a health journey trying to figure out what is wrong, but still not getting the big umbrella, okay, this is what it is. These are the little things that are happening, but this is the big thing. And last year, I had a flare 3 times in March, and I think the flare in March was onset by stress of trying to close my salon, going to a new salon, getting set up, accepting the loss and everything else. And, I woke up and I felt like my body was on fire completely. And for those of you who have touched fire before, you know what I'm talking about. That is how it felt. That's how I woke up. And I knew right then and there, I'm in a flare. This isn't normal for me. These are not my normal symptoms. Something's wrong. I had another flare in sometime in the summer, and then in October I had my 3rd flare, and I couldn't really walk for 3 days. I still tried to go to work. That was stupid. I should know better. But, October is when it's okay, I need to start harvesting everything, and I didn't do anything for 2 weeks at least. It's I couldn't walk really at all for 3 days. And then dealing with all of my other symptoms flaring up, I felt like garbage, the whole 9. I put harvesting off until the very last thing. I got everything the night before our first hard freeze. So this year, I want to do the best that I can to get back into gardening, to get back into posting videos and doing things that I enjoy. Last year was truly a test, and this year, I hope and pray, will be a lot easier. And I've been getting inspiration again from one of my favorite YouTubers, Roots and Refuge Farm, Jessica Sowards. My mom got me into watching her during COVID, and I love her farm. I've watched her move to South Carolina. I think it's South Carolina. Um, and and just like seeing everything, and it's like, I want that. I want to be able to be that self-sufficient. I love love her videos. They're very inspirational, and to get that, to be able to garden like that and to preserve that much food, it takes work and it takes time, and I want to get my head back in the game and start doing that. And I was actually watching Roots and Refuge Farm this morning and getting a lot of inspiration, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do it this year. I got this. This year is going to be different. And I've always had this sense that I wanted to farm and I wanted to garden. I gardened when I was a kid. I've gardened basically all of my adult life, and I just want to keep growing. And I eventually want to have my own property and have a farm and, maybe have a horse and have a bunch of chickens and, just be able to be self-sufficient and also enjoy the things that I love to do. And I know one day God is going to provide that, but it's also going to take work from me to be able to do that. And for any of you who are maybe questioning, should you garden this year? You want to do it, but you don't know what to do. Start. Like, gardening gives me a sense of peace, and I shouldn't have ignored it for most of last year. But also, like, there was so much change, and I didn't want to deal with anything. So, but if this is the year that you are thinking about gardening or whatever, do it. Jump in head first. Let's go. I just purchased all of my seeds. I'm a little bit late to seed starting some things. But when my seeds get here, I am going to be doing a video and showing you guys everything that I have bought. And I'm ready for this gardening season, and I hope and pray that God will have his hand over me and over everyone else, and let all of us have a really, really good year. Because you know what? God's got me through this far. Why would he give up? So, but I'm excited. I ordered too many seeds. Common problem, but it's fine. I will have enough seeds for years to come, and I still won't get through all of them, and I'll still buy more probably next year, because that's what I'm really, really good at doing. But I'm excited. I can't wait to take you guys along, and I hope and pray to be way more consistent this year. And yeah, but thanks for coming along. That has been my life update for last year, and you know what? Let's get this done. Let's have a good year. Christ is King. I'll see you guys in the next video.